Good morning and welcome to the Petitti Pro Garden Show. Thank you all for being here with us this morning. Getting up early, and we have a special guest with us today. We have Laura Carmy from Wholesome Hives, and we're going to be talking with her today about honey. So we've talked about honey a lot in the past and all of its benefits, but we are going to get information from an expert today. So we are going to answer some of your gardening questions that you've had. Like you do always have some gardening questions throughout the week, and you can ask your questions, if you haven't, by calling us at the store at 330-455-5997, or you can email me at Cindy Petitti, that's CindyPettitti @gmail.com, or better yet, bring your questions to the store at 5828 Columbus Road. We're right on the corner of Columbus Road and Broadway, and that's in Nimishillen Township. So the questions that we have today, we're going to go ahead and get those answered, and then we're going to pretty much be dedicating the show to Wholesome Hive. So the first question that we had today was from Linda, and Linda had a problem with her hollies, and she actually sent us photos, and her hollies have scale, and scale is an insect that sometimes is very difficult to control, but sometimes, if you catch it quick enough, you can control them. So one of hers was too far gone, and so our recommendation was just to pull it out and get rid of it, but to treat the other ones around it so that they would not get any worse. And neem oil is a great product to use. We're going to jump in here, safe for the bees.
Yes.
Oh, great. See? So that's what we're going to use, these products that are safe for our environment, and it really will control the scale, like I said, which is a difficult insect to control. But usually 3 applications, you can have all of them controlled if you catch it soon enough. So also you want to give your plant some additional fertilization to make it strong, just like us. If we're having some issues, some little sicknesses, you want to make sure that you're giving yourself some really wholesome, good, nutritional food, and the plants are going to be the same way. So you're going to want to make sure that you do that. The next question that we had was about zucchini. And this time of the year, zucchini has lots of issues. We're lots of times seeing powdery mildew like crazy on our zucchinis, and along with our cucumbers and some of our other finders as well. Powdery mildew can be a terrible, terrible thing for us. But if you have powdery mildew, it can be controlled with copper fungicide or sulfur fungicide, both organic and labeled for organic gardening. Even if you're a certified organic grower, you can use both of those, and it really will help. Now, the thing is, you want to try to catch it as quickly as possible. And, really, stay up on it and do a few applications. Again, keeping the plant healthy is definitely going to help that. So if you have questions, feel free to get a hold of us, and we are going to try to answer your questions for you. So we have Laura with us from Wholesome Hive. So welcome, Laura.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, and thanks for getting up early and being with us today. We both have a very busy day. As soon as we finish the radio show, we're both off to markets.
That's right.
Yes, we are. And so today I will be at the Canton Farmers Market right on the corner of McKinley and 4th Street and the Timken parking lot, and you're going to be a little further down on 4th Street.
Just about 3 blocks down from there.
Right.
People can park at the market and walk down and see us at the downtown Canton Flea. That's right at Delhi, Ohio on 4th and Walnut.
Right. So do they block off the street down there for that one?
They do, yes.
That's what I thought.
They block off 4th Street right there.
Right, 4th Street from Walnut to Cherry. Right.
Correct.
Okay, so 2 markets going on in downtown Canton today. I will be at one. Laura's going to be at the other one. But such a short distance, people can visit both. And they're both great markets. One is geared more toward probably food items, and the other one has a huge broad band of items. But the downtown flea is only once a month.
Correct. It's every 3rd Saturday.
3rd Saturday of every month. Mm-hmm. And in the wintertime, they're doing a flea as well, and they do them inside?
Yes. They haven't rolled out all the information yet, but usually they have at least one before Christmas, and then they're still deciding on what
if
to
they're going to do for the rest of the winter. Well, we do ours in the wintertime at our store starting in November, the 1st and the 3rd Saturday. And ours is probably more food, more farmers market type. But we do have a lot of crafters that come, especially during that holiday time. Right. And so that's going to be great. So, Laura, tell us how you got started into bees and then how you decided to start a business, and where did you get your name from? So we're going to go all the way back to the beginning.
Okay. Well, this has been one of those adventures that happens so often in life where I never thought I would know anything about bees or care about them, but I happened to marry a beekeeper. So my husband, Matt, he got his training in beekeeping in the Peace Corps in Paraguay. So he was sent to Paraguay. They said, that's going to be your job, to be a beekeeper, to help the people there to know what they can do with wild bees that they find. They have all Africanized bees down there, put them into their own hives, then sell the honey. He taught some of the women how to make like the veils and masks that you need to, just have their own little businesses.
Right.
So it was more promoting business with the resources they already have. So he learned that he really liked to be a beekeeper, and he could be okay with getting stung about 10 to 12 times a day at least. So
it's a good thing he's not allergic, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he said, after we got married, he said, if we're ever somewhere for a while, I'd like to have some hives. I said, okay, sounds good. So, but right after we got married, we traveled around a while. We lived in Alaska for about 3 years, lived in Ecuador for a while teaching English. And then when we found out we were pregnant with our first son, we decided to move back home. So we came back to Ohio, and he said, okay, I'm going to get my first couple hives here. And so thought that was great. He also started, we're very thrifty sort of people, so he said, you know what, instead of buying new colonies of bees, which a lot of people do, which is totally fine. They mostly come from Georgia, though, so they're not necessarily used to the Ohio climate.
Right.
So Matt said, I'm going to find the bees myself, which means he got his name out there with the Beekeepers Association and just through word of mouth. And when people would get bees living in their siding or in their porch or in different trees, then he would go and remove them. So he's been doing that the past about 4 years, and he has really crazy stories to tell about that.
I bet.
I do not envy him on those jobs, but that's how we have acquired most of our hives. Or swarms, when hives split, they swarm to find a new place to live, and while they're swarming, they're in a big ball, and you usually see them on a tree or a fence post or something. They're pretty easy to catch that way. So yeah, that's kind of how we've built our hives. Now, when he was getting the bees from people's houses and trees, you have to remove all of the honeycomb that they have already built there, or more bees will return because they'll find that honey in there. So as Matt brings home this honeycomb, I say, well, I know that you can make beeswax out of this, and I know that you can make stuff with beeswax. So I started researching how to render the wax from the comb and then what I could make. And so then I'm realizing there's lots of the same ingredients in all these products, like in deodorant, lip balm, lotions, what have you. And we, I just started experimenting. And I started giving these things out as gifts just to family and friends and got really good responses. Everyone says, oh, you should start a business.
Make this and sell it, huh?
Right. And so my entrepreneur mind said, well, hey, you know what? I love staying at home with my son. That's, what I'm called to do right now. But I wouldn't mind doing something on the side as well and use my creativity in a different way as well. So it's been great that I've been able to do this from home. I make all my products from home, and then I have a store online, but I also travel to different farmers markets and shows and festivals and things like that.
And so you started off with making product before you harvested honey to sell honey.
Yes, correct. And our thought was, well, we want to sell honey. But we've noticed that the honey is really what draws people to the table because it's something that they know about.
Right.
But then once people start talking, they get to know about the different products. And it's really great because a lot of people don't even realize that you can be able to read a product or an ingredient list and know what it says and understand it.
Right.
So
why did you choose the name Wholesome Hive?
The Wholesome Hive, I just really wanted something that was going to hone in on these are very pure ingredients. It's good for your skin. Your skin is the largest organ in your body. You have to pay attention to what you're putting into it or onto it.
And on it, yeah.
Yes. Because your skin absorbs within, I don't know, I think it's like 26 seconds or something. Anything that goes on your skin skin will absorb and go into your bloodstream. So I wanted a name that was going to portray something pure, wholesome, good for you. But I also wanted to tie in that it's all about bees. That's how we started with All About Bees. So having the hive, I'm big on alliteration. So even though it's not two H's, it's Wholesome Hive, and it just sounded good to me.
Right. Well, it is a wonderful thing. And how do you, do you feed your bees in the wintertime? And what do you feed your bees in the wintertime if you do?
If we have to feed our bees, we usually will have some maybe older honey that came from rendering wax that we'll put in a feeder. If it's really serious and we don't have any honey left, sometimes we'll feed them sugar water, but we never feed them any kind of chemicals or antibiotics that sometimes you'll find.
Right. Yeah.
And also with our honey, another part of why we call it the Wholesome Hive is that it is truly raw, pure honey. We do not heat it at all when we're processing it. We very lightly filter it. So you'll still see little flecks in it, which is just the pollen, wax, propolis, all the good stuff in there that contains all the antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal properties that honey has, which is awesome. And
I noticed because you have a hive at my place, actually 2 hives right now. I'm so excited. And also Matt was able to harvest one from a tree at our place. So that was wonderful also. But your honey crystallizes really quickly, which to me is such a treat because it's like candy to me. That is like, I don't use that as my everyday honey because I use that as my treat. Yeah. It's like I spoon that thick stuff out and it's like, it's just like candy to me. So why is that?
There's a few different reasons, but I think the main reason that ours crystallizes so fast, which all pure raw honey will crystallize eventually, is because we don't heat it at all when we're processing it. So it just makes those the sugar crystals kind of cling to each other faster. But like you said, it is like very scoopable, spreadable. That's what my kids get for treats as well. They run to the cupboard and ask for honey, spoonful every day. And so it's an educational tool as well because when people see it like that at markets, I can tell them about why and how that you can spread it on toast easily, still melts in tea. And you can also get it back down to liquid really easily by putting in a pan of hot water on a low temperature and it won't ruin all the good properties.
Right. And also we've told people, because we have a germination room at our store that from about December through June stays at 80 degrees 24/7. And we tell people, bring your honey over and set it in our germination room if it crystallizes. In about 4 days, it will just run so smoothly. And then it didn't get too hot at all.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And it's wonderful. So a lot of people actually do that. They'll bring their honey over, set it in the germination room for 4 or 5 days, and they come back and pick it up. And their honey's,
What a great idea.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. So it works out very, very well. Also, a lot of our listeners are gardeners. And so why don't you tell us some of the plants that we should be planting that's going to draw bees to us or that is good for the bees?
Yes. Well, there are actually lots of different plants and herbs that bees love. many plants, of course, they pollinate, so you want the bees around.
Right.
But, you can I'll name off some, but you can definitely do an internet search and very easily find the ones they're most attracted to. But we live on a really tiny city lot, but I think we have about half of those plants and herbs in our lot. So when people come to purchase honey from our house, they say, well, we knew it was your house because it has all these wildflowers and things growing, assuming for the bees. So lots of herbs. They love like lavender and thyme. They love bee balm, of course, lemongrass. The lemongrass actually smells like their queen to them. So even if you're trying to attract like a swarm or something, we'll put a couple drops of lemongrass oil in a box, and that makes the bees fly to it.
Really?
So that's just kind of a side note there.
Oh, that's
so they love lemongrass and lemon balm, of course. Gosh, off the top of my head.
What about fruit trees?
Yes. Apple trees, of course. Very good for them. Goodness. I mean,
but a lot of wildflowers are really...
lots of wildflowers. The coneflower, we see them out on ours all the time. It's,
and, that is
really
so
pretty.
amazing because coneflower, being echinacea, is so... people wonder, well, why is honey so good for my immune system? But look what they're nectaring from. Is those plants that are, known for their properties of, such good things for us.
Yes, so exactly. That's a good point. And actually, that brings me to another. A lot of people ask why different jars of honey will be different colors.
Yes.
And it's just where they're finding their nectar. All the different flowers, they have different colors of nectar. So the bees are going to produce different colors of honey depending on what they're finding. And it's also pretty typical, especially around here in the spring, you'll find very light honey. I've seen it almost white before.
Right.
And then going towards the fall, now we'll be finding lots more darker honey because of the buckwheat around. And
goldenrod.
Goldenrod, exactly. So, and you can tell a difference in the taste, but not a ton. It all tastes like honey,
right?
But I think the darker is said to have more antioxidants. It's a little bit more bolder flavor, I guess, but it's all just as good for you.
Right. So will darker honey solidify more quickly than lighter honey?
It tends to solidify less quickly, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we were just wondering with all of those enzymes, if that would help the sugars pull together more or less.
It seems, but you know what? They're all different because it really depends on
what it was
and the content of the different sugars that are in it.
Right. So we want to recommend to everyone that you make sure that you plant a lot of flowers.
Yes.
And things like, I would have not thought of lemongrass because you really don't have a flower on that. So what would they... So that is something totally new to me. And another reason that people should buy lemongrass, not only for its, insect repellent, uses, but that's amazing that, I never thought about putting that inside, somewhere where you're trying to draw them to.
Yes. Yeah,
so
definitely.
So you put it in the boxes that you like, the one box that he put up at my place?
Yeah, he'll put a couple drops of lemongrass in there.
Right. So if you don't have lemongrass and you have access to essential oils. So some lemongrass oil dropped in there would also help attract?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So we all need to do that. And of course, maybe you should make sure that you're planting some perennial herbs along with your flowers because if that's going to, thyme is a beautiful ground cover. It's a great herb to cook with, but it is also an absolutely beautiful ground cover. And it's also labeled as a steppable because you can actually walk all over thyme and it doesn't destroy it at all. And also it's really good for your feet. So when you step on thyme barefoot, it makes your feet feel really, really good.
Oh, that's cool.
It's amazing.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's like, reflexology. You're just like walking on the oils. And it really feels amazing to your feet. And it helps like rejuvenate your feet if your feet's really tired and you walk on thyme. Like that's we always, neat. And you always need more time.
Yeah, amen.
we always need so much more time. So now your family has grown.
Yes.
And we have another child.
Right.
So we have two little boys.
4 years old and 2 years old. So a little crazy.
You definitely have your hands full.
Yes.
And how do they like the bees? I mean, because so many times in our industry, in the green industry, people come into the garden center and they'll see all these flowers and they'll see bees flying around. I don't know. The herb hyssops really, really attracts the honeybees on our property. They like swarm to it like crazy. And people will come in and be like, oh, well, we don't want that plant because we don't want the bees. We have little kids.
Oh, yeah.
But so talk a little bit about that. So people aren't so afraid. They don't want to put anything in their landscape that's going to attract the bees because they're afraid of bees.
Yeah. Well, really, honeybees in particular are very docile. It seems counterintuitive, but as long as you're not, kicking their hive or doing anything to maybe a flower that they're on, they are not going to bother you. Or if you're doing something to their queen, which you most likely are not going to be finding their queen.
Exactly.
They protect her very well.
Right.
So really, I have had to learn this as well. Like I said, I have always, I've never thought I would know this much about bees. I was very timid when we first got them and did not even want to walk near the hives. But now I can actually walk through when they're doing their thing outside. I'm probably walking through about 10,000 of them and I'm fine. Like, it's crazy. But really, as long as you're not harming their environment, they're not going to hurt you. Now with my little ones, we kind of try to teach them too, but they also have to learn on their own. So my 2-year-old in particular, he likes to try to catch the bees. Well, both of them do. They're their pets. So they've learned a couple of times the hard way that you can't just catch the bees in your hands. But it's a good education for them as well.
Right.
Now my 4-year-old, he loves to talk about them and loves to say, well, I'm going to be a beekeeper like Daddy. He just told me that last night, and he said, my job is to smoke them. It makes them calm. So he's learning right alongside Matt, and it's pretty cool to see.
So explain that, because a lot of people don't know what you mean by smoking them.
Yeah, so when Matt is actually working with the bees, opening the hive, seeing the honey they're producing, making sure they're still healthy, he will first apply some smoke into the hive. So
what kind of smoke is this?
You use just weeds, dry leaves from the area, and there's a little contraption. Looks very old-fashioned, but you put that in there, light it on fire, and it just produces smoke that will calm the bees because they get a little tranquilized when they smell it. So it just makes them, not in attack mode when you're opening their hive. So Josiah, my 4-year-old, will have that job of holding the smoker and making sure that the bees are calm.
Right. But it doesn't hurt them at all.
Does not hurt them.
We'll need to know it doesn't hurt the bees at all. It's not like you're using a chemical to calm them down, but it's just a nice way to get them so that they're not attacking you.
Yes.
When you are making them feel a little threatened when you're opening up their hive. Exactly right. So if you have other questions or you would like to get a hold of Laura, you can, of course, go to a market. She does Jackson Market on Thursday nights. She does Canton Farmers Market on Saturdays. And once a month on the third Saturday of the month, she's at the Downtown Flea. Any other markets that you do?
You'll find me at the 720 Market, which just started up this year as well in North Canton.
And also give your website so if they want to order something online and a phone number.
Sure. Very easy. The website is www.thewholesomehive.com. And my phone number, 330-575-4184. You can also email me at thewholesomehive@gmail.com. Like me on Facebook. Find me on Instagram. I'm always posting on there, always have my events up and just different tips and different fun things.
Right. So it's not just Wholesome Hive. It's The Wholesome Hive.
The Wholesome Hive.
The Wholesome Hive. And I follow you on Facebook as well, so I always see where you're going to be. And it's great that, you have this great little business, and yet God allows you to do what your heart desires is staying with your children as well. So. Yes. It's such a blessing.
And it is really great, like I was talking about, with all the body care products, just seeing how many things in nature God has given us to use for our bodies, for our wellness. Ourselves. Yes, and it's just amazing to learn about those.
Right, it is. And you also use a lot of essential oils.
Yes.
I buy little pieces of beeswax that you have essential oils in, and it is just amazing wearing those necklaces. They're so wonderful. Yeah, they're great. And so if you want to get a hold of Laura, remember all of the markets that she's at, but remember it's at thewholesomehive.com. And you can get all of her information. Well, Laura, thank you so very much for being with us
really
today.
Great to be here.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. And thank all of you for listening and getting up early this morning. Remember, if you have questions that you would like to ask me about your gardens or your plant material, your landscapes, 330-455-5997, or you can email me at cindypetitti@gmail.com, or better yet, come out to the store at 5828 Columbus Road. We're right on the corner of Columbus Road and Broadway in Nimishillen Township. Thank you all so much for listening, and have a blessed week.